Hi guys, I had another video planned for today, but as you can see from the title, something happened yesterday morning and I thought it's about time I talk about it on YouTube. And I expect that this video might be viewed by more people than usual, or at least people that haven't subscribed to us yet and don't know us yet. Nice to meet you. I am Marijke. I own 3 sporting Staffords and yeah, they're active dogs, they're crazy dogs, I love them and I hope that you like my content. Today's video, however, will not be as fun and exciting because of what happened yesterday. So before I explain what happened, I'd like to refer to another video that I made about why my dogs are not allowed to interact with dogs and people on walks, why I don't let my dogs play with others, simply because I don't want any expectations from them when they see other dogs. I just want to be able to walk without my dogs getting excited. That's the main thing, but also this breed is predisposed to dog aggression, so having excitement around other dogs is never clever. I just don't want any interactions. I don't require it. I explained that in depth in the other video, so I'll link that up in this video and also link it in the description, so you can read some explanations about that. So yeah, that's some background information about why I don't want dogs to approach mine or me. So now on to what happened. I'm uploading this on a Sunday. It happened on Saturday morning. We were playing frisbee with Hunter and Jordy. We had a lot of fun. I took some amazing pictures. I'm about to edit those, so I hope that at least there is something positive that came from this morning. So we did a cool down walk afterwards, and when we were almost home, a woman walked in our direction. I think she was around 30 yards away or something, 30 meters. And I saw that her dog was off leash. It was probably an Amstaff, maybe a pit bull. Even though I know the breeds, I couldn't really judge it because it was severely overweight. But I hope that some of you are on the same level here. Staffords, pit bulls and dogs alike. They are feisty dogs who don't usually, genetically speaking, like or appreciate other dogs. It doesn't go to say that all are like that, but I think it's important to share this opinion even if you don't like it. I'm still gonna say it. It's common for altercations to occur. So yes, that kind of changes my behavior towards such a dog approaching me, but I don't like any dog off leash approaching us if it's not in a destined area for off leash walking. Now this dog crouched down a little bit and then charged for us. And in situations like that, usually the one who's not holding a dog, one of us two, would step forward and push the dog away. In this case, I had plenty time because it was quite a distance to say no, yell no, yell the words bad dog in Dutch. I yelled the word foei, which I know is bad dog in a couple languages, and the dog didn't listen to it. Usually that helps. I then had a wide stance and I pushed my knee forward into the dog's shoulder, and that 95% of the time makes the dog turn around. In this case it didn't. The dog kept coming for Jordy's area, my area, aiming for Hunter obviously, and I think I may have pushed the dog away 4 times. Jordy then also pushed it, and in the meantime the woman came walking in our direction, and Jordy once said, "Would you leash your dog please?" It was also quite close to our home, so we knew that we might encounter this person more often, so education at this point was very important. It wasn't just the dog's safety, our dog's safety, our safety, the woman's safety, but it was also a way to prevent anything from happening in the future. So we communicated on that once we knew that the owner was a bit closer. But instead of complying, or at least listening to what we were saying, she put one finger behind the dog's tiny pink itty bitty collar and she said the words "fucking bitch." She repeated the statement, and I told her, "I don't care what you think of my actions, I'm protecting my dog. Leash your dog, please." She didn't. Instead, She turned around, let the dog go, turned back, and then it happened. She grabbed my throat, she pulled my hair, she grabbed my wrists, she pulled my wrist, pushed my wrist backwards so bad that I have a small bruise here from the watch. The thickest part here of my trachea, it hurts. Well, my hair doesn't hurt anymore, but she pulled my hair. And yeah, Jordy couldn't do anything because the dog was on top of Hunter. The woman was in luck in that case because he is an intact male and that was an intact female. Usually that will result in the least amount of issues, so she could have been lucky that I didn't have the girls with me, or that her dog wasn't male as well, because yeah, usually that results in a more difficult situation. But Jordy couldn't get away because he couldn't take his eyes off the dogs, so I had to kind of, yeah, do my own battles, fight my own battles. And then I remembered that I was holding my DSLR camera and I lifted it to show her. I said, well, I can hurt you too, and she let go. I didn't really do anything except for trying to push her away. I wouldn't ever be inclined to aim for the face, which she clearly was. And then when she let go, she walked away and her dog followed her finally. And I said, well, you attacked me, you don't oblige the rules, you don't want to help your neighbor, so I'm calling the police. And then she said, oh, police, police, well, I live here, goodbye. And she entered her house. She wasn't Dutch, I don't know what country she came from exactly, but she couldn't understand the first things that we said, so later on we were speaking in English, but I also don't think she really spoke English well either. But yeah, so well, I called 911, 999, 112. We live in the Netherlands, so here the alarm numbers, like the police and fire, what are you doing? And fire department and stuff, you call 112. So I rang them and they sent cops over to my place, and we had a talk about what happened, and then they also went over to hers, and for now they just had a good talk with her apparently about the rules with regards to leashing a dog, but also that one is supposed to keep their hands off of others. I'm saying this quite calmly now. I was not as calm this morning. I was not as put together. Let's just say that. So yeah, that was what happened this morning, and it's something I wish would never have happened, but I have been fearful of for a while. So now I say this as Hunter. Hey. Hunter is bored, so he will just be walking around and I don't care for this video. Hi. Yeah? Hi. Now, as a Stafford owner, of course I am likely more inclined to try and keep other dogs away from mine, because aside from my dog's safety being at stake, other dogs' safety is also at risk here, because I know that my dogs will defend themselves and me, so I think it puts a little bit more strain on the situation. They are capable of defending themselves, which makes them less vulnerable than, for example, a Chihuahua or something, but yeah, I think when it comes to off-leash dogs approaching you, you do whatever you can to keep them away from you or from your dogs. So I have been doing that for years. I think the first time I felt threatened in a situation like this was approximately 60-year-old guy who approached me with his shepherd, and he was far away, and I asked him to leash the dog because it was a leash law area, and he ignored. I asked again, he said yeah, sure. He didn't leash it though, and then when the dog approached mine and hovered over it, and it was Mojo at that time, she was a year-old, she was scared. She crouched down into a tiny puddle. I asked him again, would you please leash your dog? And he came up to me and he had this big stance and he said, I said yes. And then he walked on. And then his dog charged some ducks and he ran over like streets where cars are allowed to go 30 miles an hour and or 50 kilometers an hour, and it was absolutely insane. And I couldn't imagine a person being so rude that they would not mind at all that someone else's dog was in distress. But then I realized that perhaps people would listen if they were informed of their own dog's risk or their own risk. So I kind of changed my tactics. I, rather than kindly asking, I would be more inclined to just saying, leash your dog, and I would but that didn't help either. So most recently, my way of approaching situations like this would be, would you please keep your dog close because mine are not friendly. It's a question, but it's also a statement. And sometimes when people just let their dogs run up on a flexi or off leash, I say my dogs bite because it's quick and it's clear. And usually it works. Because then it's not an open question. Like if I were to say, is your dog friendly? Will your dog stay away from mine? There's a time to create a conversation with which often it can be a matter of fight or no fight. So I try to keep it simple and short. But sometimes you don't have the opportunity, you don't have the time to say this, or sometimes you just don't see what's happening, you don't see what's coming because you don't expect it, because you're on a street, because you're in a busy area, and still that's why it happens. So I get baffled by the idea that people would put their own animal at risk, would let it approach a Staffordshire Bull Terrier of all breeds and risk their dogs getting hit by a car, risk their dogs getting bitten. But then when the people defend themselves, when people, the dog owner defends their dog, they suddenly feel offended and they suddenly feel the need to protect their animal. When in all seriousness, all they would have to do is prevent the situation from happening in the first place and just leash their dog. It's that simple. It is that fucking simple. And I don't get that there's this non-written ideal about just having all our dogs off leash and life will be fine. It will not be. And that's the truth of it. That dog was fun, it was friendly, it was wiggly after all, but it doesn't matter because it could have bitten. Could have been bitten. It could have bitten, but it also could have been bitten. And it seems like people have to experience the worst in order to learn something. And it's not always just in the dog world, it's in general. People have to experience hell before they can change their tactics, they can change their way of thinking. And it bothers me, it really bothers me. So yeah, I'm kind of focusing on the dog part here, because I kind of want to share why I touched the dog, why, and all I did was press my knee into it, but why I felt the need to get physical in a way and what it resulted in. So I think in the future I still would do the same, but I will be more aware of what it could mean and what it could result in. Yeah, so like I said, this is not the first time I have been threatened or assaulted, or yeah, assaulted in this case, yes, like people putting their hands on me, but threatened, definitely not. When I lived in Amsterdam, there was a man with two well-fit dogs, a Rottweiler and a Pit Bull, and I was cycling with Venus, and I saw them at like, it must have been, well, yeah, it must have been like 100 yards. Like, it was quite a big distance. And the Rottweiler was off lead and the Pitbull was not. And the Rottweiler saw us, it had spotted us, but it was pooping. So I was like, okay, I'll just stop the bike and see what it does. But then it turned around and it came towards us. So I got off the bike and stood still on the path, just in case other cyclists or scooters would drive past us. Any motorized vehicles were also welcome on that path. And I was like, yeah, the only thing I can do is either pick up my dog and stand in front, or stand in front of her and push the other dog away. So I lifted my knee like I always do, because usually the dog just barges into you to get to whatever is behind you, and that's the easiest way. They're not too clever running around you. They try to get the fastest route. So usually that is the timing to put your knee forward. But with a Rottweiler, I was a little bit more skeptical about doing it, because of course they are usually more focused on guarding and protecting their land and their owner from other people. I think. So yeah, I was a little bit more skeptical because of the breed, but it worked. The dog just crouched down, walked back. And the guy didn't see it, but because the dog came walking back, which is something apparently he wasn't expecting for the dog to do, which is a clear sign of the dog not even being able to go off lead, let alone in an area where it's not allowed. The guy said, "You kicked my dog. You kicked my dog, didn't you? Because otherwise he wouldn't have come running back." And I said, well, no, I held it back. I pushed it away because I'm walking here with a tiny dog and I get a Rottweiler charging us. What do you think I should do? What am I supposed to do? And then he said, well, you're lucky you're a girl, because otherwise I would have smacked your face. And then I said, okay, I feel threatened by you. And he said, well, you darn well should. And then he's also said that if I didn't watch myself, he would let go of the pit bull's lead and I would not have a dog left. The Rottweiler's name, by the way, was Mojo, like one of my dogs. Yeah, so and that put me in a situation where eventually I was quite scared to walk there, because also he lived quite close to us and he was a man, and he seemed quite certain of himself. So yeah, this is not the first time it's happened, and quite recently there has been more talk about assault, about harassment in towards women in a sexual way, but this also happens, and I thought it was only good to share. I seem quite put together now. I am not mentally. I was quite a wreck today. Not only because, honestly, whenever I see an off-leash dog and I see that the owner is not in charge, my knees start trembling. If I see an off-leash dog in a heel, usually I'm like, wow, well trained, but 90% of the time they stray from their position and still approach. So, guys, you just can't sniff, you can't smell what a dog is doing. So I think it's all completely fine to ask someone to leash their dog. It's fine to just be the rude Karen and say, you have to leash your dog here. Yeah, I was a total Karen today if I were to have come at her and say, you have to leash your dog. But was I wrong? No. And I didn't even do that. I didn't even communicate with her because there was no time. I communicated with the dog because the owner wasn't doing it. Someone has to try to keep it away. Didn't work. Physical did work, but the owner didn't eventually grab the dog in time, so the dog did end up on top of Hunter. But yeah, I didn't, until it happens, you don't realize that even if you're all in the, you're not in the wrong, you can put yourself in a dangerous situation, and that happened today. And I wish I could say, please act differently than I did, but in all honesty, I don't think you can. You can try to keep your wording kind, but again, usually it doesn't really help people from getting aggressive or rude. Maybe the only thing I would have done is ask Jordy to lift Hunter up. It also doesn't really create fear like people think. It really takes your dog out of a possible super dangerous situation. And also in this case, the dog started, I think, moving around Hunter or something and trying to charm him. But this, like you will see in the other video that I've linked, most likely will have a bad effect on his raising, on his training. We have focused so much on creating zero expectations around things that he sees on his walk. What are you doing? Hunter, hi. He's eating his paw. And that will be now have, that will now have a couple steps backward, because he will now have situations where he is expecting an approach. He is expecting the dog to come towards him, and that in his case, he will get very excited, he will start whining, and that's something we've been working on for so long, to keep that excitement to a minimum. And this is the 6th or 7th time that he has been approached without our intentions, without even knowing sometimes that a dog would approach him. And he's always been amazing, but you never know. And I know, what I do know for certain is that it will affect his behavior, and this is what can create reactivity in a dog as well, because whining and getting excited towards seeing a dog, I mean, that's a form of reactivity. It doesn't mean that the dog necessarily will go into aggression. Reactivity is just a vocal response to seeing a stimulus. So yeah, he might get reactive simply because someone was too lazy to put their dog on a lead. Simply because someone was too lazy to prevent anything dangerous from happening to their animal. And I just can't wrap my head around it. I hope that you're on the same page with me. If not, if you think that whatever happened, I got coming for me, that is totally fine. I just don't see it. And I hope it doesn't happen again. But like I said, they live 2 minutes away from our house. So I'm assuming that we will cross paths again. We were in luck though, because this could have ended very differently. If it was a male dog, I do expect ours to bite. We had an incident in Luxembourg that you saw it in a video a couple, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. We went to Luxembourg for my birthday and we visited the city. And we were walking in quite a quiet street, and all the dogs were in a heel. They were on a short lead, and all of a sudden a guy walked in our direction from behind us and had his dog on a long lead and let the dog up, sniffing Hunter's bum without our knowledge. We of course wouldn't have let him do that if we knew, or if we saw, we would have again pushed the dog away with our knee. In this case we were too late. Hunter turned around, growled, the guy laughed, let his dog up to Hunter again whilst Hunter was turned around, and we could do nothing but see as Hunter bit the dog in its side, grabbed the fur, because it was a rough collie, so that dog was in luck that it had such a thick coat, and it probably didn't feel anything because it came back for more sniffing and playing. And the guy laughed, which was ridiculous. The girls were then starting to whine and scream, and the guy thought, well, let's walk around you and let my dog sniff the girls as well. People are crazy, dog owners are crazy, I don't even know anymore. So if you agree with me, why not leave a comment, give this video a like, maybe subscribe. We are actually hoping to move to Norway in the future in the hopes of living in an area that suits our lifestyle, our mentality, being in a big quiet area. And if YouTube in a way can help us, that will be amazing. We do get a small income from all of the advertisements that you are made to watch. I don't know if most YouTube viewers don't even know that. That's around 70% of the revenue from the advertisements goes to the creators. So yeah, don't use an ad blocker. If you respect this video. No, I'm just kidding. You can do whatever you want, but I would love a comment, a like, or yeah, for you to hit the subscribe button. If you listened and watch until now, then I think it's worth it, because you will find that these videos probably fit your lifestyle, your mentality, or your way of thinking about dogs. So For now, have fun with your dogs this week, and I will see you again next week, hopefully with a more funny, enjoyable video. See you guys soon. Goodbye.